Yes, you know what? I will note all these questions and I will ask them later on.
It's gonna have a Canadian flair for sure.
All right. Sports. Talk. Line.
Do you guys even know where Vancouver Island is? It's not even close to Toronto. Okay, let's get things going.
Good afternoon and welcome to the Unnamed Sports Show here on the Sports Talk Line Network, where we talk sports 24/7, 365. I'm your host, of course, Joshua Griffith, and this is a gloomy Thursday, August 20th, and thank you for joining me on episode 16. We got a lot of sports to catch you up on today from last week. Canucks news, Whitecaps, Raptors, Blue Jays, Champions League, and lots more sports. So thank you for joining me today. I will be joined as a guest by Ben Righetti, contributor of The Last Word on Sports and host of the 90 Plus podcast. And we're going to talk a bit about the terrible Whitecaps showing on Tuesday night and look forward to their game on Friday against TFC. So we're also going to chat about the Champions League and the Canadian phenom Alfonso Davies, who is going to be playing in the Champions League final on Sunday with Bayern Munich. Seeing how much time we have left with Ben, we might squeak in some CFL talk because I know that he covers CFL as well. So after Ben, I will be joined by Stephen Vanover, who is the Sports Talk Line head NFL writer. So we're going to get you caught up with the NFL as that's just right around the corner here in September. So it's kind of caught us by storm with all the other sports going on right now, like this basketball game I'm currently watching. But we're going to get you caught up with that and get you caught up with the rest of sports. So let's get right into it. We had a big Vancouver Canucks win last night, Wednesday night, in Game 5 against the defending Stanley Cup champion St. Louis Blues. Canucks won 4-3 thanks to 2 goals by Tyler frickin' Mott and one by both JT Miller and shotgun Jake Virtanen, which kind of relieved a lot of Vancouver. You could see on Twitter with all the shotgun Jakes that were going around. So that was nice to see Jake get one and get off the snide. If you missed the game, kind of get you caught up briefly with it. Vancouver opened the game. They skated really well. They able to draw a power play thanks to Brock Besser and his forecheck on Jake Allen, who looked a little bit shaky here. And you got to remember he is a backup. So Vancouver was able to get a power play, didn't really do anything on it, but were able to get their legs kind of moving and control the puck and get some confidence against St. Louis. And that's coming in after losing 2 games, right? So Tyler Mott ended up opening the scoring on a shorthanded goal thanks to Alex Petranglo's bad taste in sticks, as it just snapped when he was trying to do a wrist shot there. Tyler Mott was able to streak down and do a really nice move to get it past Petrangelo and roof it over Jake Allen, gave him the 1-0 lead. It was a really beautiful goal by Tyler Mott, kind of unexpected, but it was nice to see him kind of capitalize on some of his chances that he's had in the last little bit, because he's had a fair bit and he hasn't been able to put them in the back of the net. So it was kind of a shortly lived lead as, Vancouver were outplaying the Blues, but, Craig Berube made a couple changes to the lineup, and one of them was Ivan Barbashev, and he made a pretty immediate impact with a nice forecheck in the first period there. Braden Shen dumped it in, misplayed by Tanev, and he got kind of crunched by Barbashev before he put it out right in the middle of the ice. All of the Canucks were in the same quadrant of the ice for this goal. It was a weird one. Shen had, 3 or 4 days to find a spot on Markstrom, and it tied up at 1. Vancouver was a bit unlucky to end the first period not tied, as Ryan O'Reilly banked it right off the defender's stick and past Jacob Markstrom with just 29 seconds to go in the period. So it was a really deflating way to go into the locker room. Probably should have just been tied at 1, if not the Canucks with the 1-goal lead, but they definitely deserved it. Jacob Markstrom kept the Canucks in the game in the second period there, the first part of it, as the Blues just came out with their foot on the gas. A puck that just bounced right off the linesman, came right in front, and St. Louis had a beautiful chance with an open, and Markstrom was able to dive, pass, and save it. He made a couple other nice pad saves on Shen a little bit later on. St. Louis finally was able to break Vancouver, which made sense just because of the way they were playing in the game so far. And Zach Thomas, I think that's wrong, but I wrote it down. So I'm going to go with Zach Thomas, and then I have to correct myself later, then I will. But Zach Thomas walking past Zach Sanford walked in past Tyler Mott, and he had his stick knocked out of his hands. So instead of playing, on and trying to, get into the play, he just kind of stood with his hands up. And this was right after that phantom high stick call to put them on the penalty kill. So my soccer news is a little bit later in the show, but it was a nice move by Sanford to give the Blues the 3-1 lead. Vancouver could have rolled over at this point. It was a young group, and they're playing the former Stanley Cup champions, but they pushed forward, and Travis Green with his, kind of line blender throughout the game. And even to start, they would end up scoring 3 goals in the second period to take the 3-2 or the 4-3 lead there. And it started with JT Miller's really greasy goal. He got a couple attempts to jam it past Jake Allen. Whistle could have been blown, but it wasn't. So that was a nice goal. One of the only lineup changes that Travis Green made was switching out Adam Gaudette for Zach McEwen. And like I mentioned a little bit earlier, completely blended his lines. Some of these stats about the line matchup, I think 9 of the line combinations played a minute or more Wednesday. I think there was 14 different ones. 8 of them played 3+ minutes or something, and the other 6 played under 3 minutes. Yeah, it was crazy, but it proved effective as Vancouver was trying to get, Craig Berube to try and decide who the Ryan O'Reilly matchup was going to be on. Like, was he going to put it on to start the game how they had, Horvat, Pearson, and Besser on the one line, or was he going to just do it against Pearson, Pettersson, and Eriksson, which started the game? So it was an interesting to see, and he definitely changed his lines throughout the game. One of the ones that ended up working out was the Miller, Pettersson, and Virtanen line, and Petey made some really smooth moves down in the corner there. Watch that, and that's against Ryan O'Reilly too, and he doesn't get touched by him, which is nice to see. And kind of cycles it down to JT Miller. He was able to find Jake Virtanen kind of in a bad position on the side of the net, but he had enough room, and it looked like he surprised Jake Allen by trying that really tight angle shot, short side, but he was able to score. And like I said, yeah, we had a shotgun Jake for the first time in a long time in Vancouver. So shout out to all those people that were shotgunning last night with Dweeb and then Tommy, I think he shotgunned some Nutella. So sugar rush there. The Canucks, they had the 3-2 lead after 2 periods, and, they can thank Markstrom for some really solid play in the third. And then 2, just some hard work by the Canucks. They're fine. They finally managed, they only managed 6 shots in the final frame, but they limited the Blues to 9, and they did a much better job controlling the puck. So Wednesday night was probably a game that Canucks fans have been waiting to see for a while there, because they just, they physically came on, dominated. They dominated the skating. It was nice to see. Alex Edler was cut in the ear by a skate that looked like, I don't know if it's exactly in the ear, but late in the second period. So he didn't return for the game, but it looks like that he should be good to go for Friday night's game. And as that's being reported by Rick Dollywell there. So Tyler Toffoli is still a ways to go, and I wouldn't expect him to see him or Myers for the rest of this round. Going to be really interesting to see what Travis Green does Friday night with his lines. He's going to have last change if he wants to do the same thing that he did and try and force Craig Berube's hand. I think that would probably be smart, but hockey's a game of matchups, and one team makes some changes. So now St. Louis is going to have to make some changes. Make sure that you tune into this game because it's a little bit earlier than the normal 7:45 starts. It's at 6:45 Pacific time on Friday. So there is a lot more NHL action going on. So I'll get you caught up with the other series before we move on. Wednesday saw 3 more teams wrap up things. The Avalanche just absolutely obliterated the Coyotes. Oh man, the Avalanche looks scary. So they took that series 4-1. Columbus was able to take the Tampa Bay Lightning to overtime, but the Lightning got their revenge for last season with a 5-4 overtime win and also took that series in 5 games. Unfortunately, Boston was able to beat Carolina 2-1, and they won Boston. The Canadiens, luckily, were able to hold off the Philadelphia Flyers on Wednesday with like an outpouring of offense, which came from nowhere after all their games in the series. So they won 5-3, and they will play Game 6 on Friday as well and look to force a Game 7 against the Flyers. So Vegas wrapped things up on Tuesday, in case you missed that, against the Blackhawks in Game 5 as well. And the Islanders are leading 3-1 in their series, and Game 5, that goes tonight in about 2 hours. So the Islanders could wrap that up. The other Canadian team left in the Western Conference, the Calgary Flames, are also going to look to force a Game 7 as they are down 3-2 in this series against the Dallas Stars. So that game also goes tonight, and that will be about a 7:40 p.m. puck drop. So we're going to go from a great story to a terrible one as the Vancouver Whitecaps kick things off, and their MLS is back to action, back it up, whatever you're calling it. The next phase in play where all of the Canadian teams are playing 6 games, and they'll play 3 against each one. So this will count towards the regular season standings, and also the top point getter in this will play the winner of the Island games in the Canadian Premier League for a spot in the CONCACAF Champions League. So lots of stuff up for action here. The game on Tuesday, it was an empty BMO field, but they shout out to the TFC supporters who were in the back there lighting up flares and trying to do what they could from the fans. I don't know exactly how we're going to be able to replicate something like that at BC Place when we get our games in September. I guess we could just socially distance in Terry Fox Plaza and light some flares and sing and chant there. But I don't know if you noticed, I'm kind of stalling from getting back to the game because it was a terrible 3-0 loss to TFC, and it could have been a lot worse. Thomas Sassal got the start in net after his great performances in the MLS's back tournament. And also the Whitecaps had, Lucas Cavallini, Tosin Ricketts, and Andy Rose all back in the lineup. All of them made the starting 11 for this game. Interesting to see that Freddie Montero stayed home. And of course, there's heavy speculation coming from everywhere. Of course, Twitter, that he could be on the move to another team. It didn't help that his wife, Alexis, got Portuguese passports and posted on her Instagram story. And of course, everybody needs to hound all the Instagram stories of the Canucks and Whitecaps and every player to try and find some juicy tidbits of information. So just like with the sale of Inbom Wong to Rubin Kazan in Russia, we'll just kind of wait and see till we actually hear things. So I'm not going to speculate on things. And when I try and ask for people for comments on it, they just tell me no comments. So again, I'll just wait. Going to get into more of Tuesday's game with my guest, and we're going to kind of look more ahead to Friday's game. Hopefully it can be a bit more positive than that 3-0 thumping with Ben Righetti. So stay tuned for that a little bit here. But before that, I want to get you into NBA basketball, which is actually going on right now. And, the Toronto Raptors went up 2-0 in their series yesterday. So we got lots of things to talk about for the NBA. We also had a couple big upsets, which I kind of want to get into and talk about. So the LA Lakers, as the number 1 seed, lost to the Portland Trail Blazers. So that was a pretty, I don't know if anybody wanted to call it that some more big of a surprise considering how Dame Lillard was playing, but they were able to beat LA 193. So game 2 from the Orlando bubble, that goes tonight for those two teams. Another big upset was the Orlando Magic beating the Milwaukee Bucks. So, Toronto fans, we kind of know about losing in the first round, especially to Orlando, which has happened last year. They are currently playing right now, and it is, I think, 5-4 or 5-4 for, oh, no, Milwaukee just hit a 3. So it is 7-5 for Milwaukee right now. Like I said, Toronto was able to take the 2-game lead in their series after a 134-110 victory in the first game, and then a bit closer on Wednesday morning, 104-99 to take the 2-0 series lead against the Brooklyn Nets. A great series that I was kind of looking forward to is the Boston Celtics versus the Philadelphia 76ers, and they also have a 2-0 lead. Despite losing Gordon Hayward after the first game, it doesn't look like he is going to be returning for any of the playoffs, which is a pretty big blow considering the Boston Celtics had some NBA title aspirations, I would say. The Mavericks and Luka Doncic, they were able to even things up at 1 against Kawhi Leonard and the Clippers, and the Jazz also even things up against Denver, so in their series. So want to get a little bit more into the Raptors before I move on, because like I said, they're not only up 2-0 in their series, but some videos kind of came to light in the last couple of days of the situation from Oracle Arena in Game 6 from the NBA Finals last year. I'm sure lots of people remember it. I don't know if you've seen any of the videos. But there was a lawsuit filed by a police officer that was working at Oracle Arena during this, who claimed he was assaulted by Masai Ujiri. I mean, kind of all remember the skirmishes. Kyle Lowry had to go over and get him to bring him on the court. And so video was surfaced from the lawyers of Masai Ujiri, and he actually made a statement today. It came out about an hour and a half ago for the Toronto Raptors. And so, with the video cams coming out, it just kind of showed, what Masai had said initially and contradicted everything that the police department and police officer was saying. And it kind of also makes us think that, this Black Lives Matter stuff, it's nowhere near being over. And this kind of sheds even more light on it. If the president of the Toronto Raptors, one of the, the biggest sports names on that team, the biggest images, I guess, with the work he does with so many other things, if that's what he has to go through trying to get on, and he had his credentials, you can watch the video. So it's a little bit startling. And I'm glad that, it all came to light, and we can see, and hopefully that they can, kind of address this and take care of that cop, and hopefully other people don't have to deal with it. But it's very evident that the conversation's not over. So please try and keep it up. Get in touch with people of color that, ask about situations they've had to deal with, because, that might not be something I've had to deal with or you've had to deal with it, but maybe they have. So Leo Routen's also made a really great point when he was addressing the situation on TSN, and said he just walked on without even showing anyone his press credentials. So what does that tell you, right? So, like I said, we have NBA action going on right now. Pretty excited for that. Hopefully Orlando can, because I'm cheering for the Raptors. I'm a Raptors fan. I'm not going to lie. Hopefully Orlando can take this and take care of Milwaukee, and they can take a 2-0 series lead and maybe just take care of Milwaukee altogether for the Raptors, because I really like how the Raptors have been playing lately. Haven't got that much of a chance to watch their games, just most of the highlights, because they've been on really early in the morning, especially here on the East Coast. A little bit later for you here on the West Coast. A little bit earlier for you guys on the East Coast, but hey, we get made up for it. The Lakers game for you guys starts at 9 tonight and starts at 6 for us. So I've got a couple more minutes before my guest joins me. So I want to get back into, because we will be talking about the Vancouver Whitecaps. I want to get back into the Whitecaps game from Tuesday, because that was, that was a little bit of a stinker. Pablo Piatti and Alexandro Pozuelo just made the Whitecaps look just absolutely shameful. Like, and it wasn't just one thing. It wasn't just like they weren't defending properly. They weren't doing really anything. Like, the meme where he's poking the guy with the thing when he's do something. But that's what, like, at times Cavallini was trying to press, but nobody behind him was focusing up. The Whitecaps were running the 4-4-2, so you would have thought that MDS was going to go for the press. But it just looked disjointed. I mentioned earlier in the show that Inbom Wang was sold to Ruben Kazan in Russia, and that was first reported by Memo Vaith of Transfermarkt, a friend from the show here. So he's got some articles about that. So was the team just that much disjointed from the midfield? I don't know. There's so many storylines from the game, and I'm hoping to talk with Ben a little bit more about it when he's able to join me here. It's going to be a quick turnaround for the Whitecaps, and then it looks like they are going to be playing in front of fans in Montreal. A limited amount of fans, mind you, but it does still look like there's going to be a couple hundred fans in the stadium for the Montreal game on Tuesday. So obviously, the Whitecaps need to worry about that one when it comes to it, and they'll have a chance in September to host the 3 home games against Toronto FC and then 2 against Montreal. But they're kind of they can't be dropping points right now. So just wondering, Lee, do we have Ben in the waiting room yet? Oh, there we go right there. Look at that. So I am joined now by Ben Righetti from contributor for The Last Word on Sport and host of the 90 Plus podcast with Sebastian Pereira. Ben, thank you for joining me today.
Thanks, Joshua. It's been a little while. I've been wanting to get on the show for a little bit, and I'm here. We've got some stuff to talk about. I'm excited. The listeners should be excited. Should be good.
No, I'm excited too, and hopefully I didn't butcher your name too badly there. But
no, you got it mostly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, good. So first and foremost, how have you been doing during these times? Obviously, it's strange and difficult for everyone, but have you and your family been staying safe and healthy?
Yeah, no, we have. Obviously we've been taking precautions. Dr. Bonnie Henry, been listening to her guidelines and everything over the last 4 or 5 months or so, and going with the times, I guess. Just kind of doing. Everyone's doing their own parts to stay safe, stay healthy, and at the same time keep positive and happy and energetic and everything. So yeah, me and my family, we're getting along well, and my sister's moving out in a couple of months, and I am, watching the clock, waiting for that to happen, wishing that clock would speed up a little bit. But you know what? It's good to see her before she goes.
No, absolutely. No, I have other siblings too, and I hear that. Luckily, they don't live with me anymore, but they do stop by, and it's hard to get them out once they stop by. So one of the things that I've noticed has been helping me, at least anyway, is all of these sports that are coming back.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to get, obviously, we had the MLS's back tournament. That was pretty optimistic from the Whitecap standard. And then we had the MLS is back, start up again for the Canadian teams on Tuesday. So I just wanted to, get your thoughts on the Whitecaps game versus Toronto FC.
Yeah, it's starting to sound like a broken record right now that sports are coming back and the MLS is back and then it's gone. Now it's back again. Now the American teams are back, but at least for the next little bit, the return to play phase 1, obviously it is in effect. Whitecaps started that up back on Tuesday night. And like you said, it was in Toronto. And I think a lot of Whitecaps fans are wishing that performance would stay in Toronto and they don't repeat that anywhere else. It was a tough 90 minutes for sure for anyone cheering on the boys in white. But it was and Mark DeSantos has said numerous times since the conclusion of that game on Tuesday that it's just he knows that it was a bad performance. It was the team's one of the lowest points in almost the last couple of years, I'd say, for the Whitecaps. It was just, like you said, there was some optimism and there was some promise coming out the MLS is back tournament. And I think a lot of people were sort of hoping that, we had a very young team down in Orlando. And then now that we get some of the veterans back, obviously Lucas Cavallini, St. Ricketts, Andy Rose, guys that weren't able to make the trip down to Orlando. Now that they're back, we're all excited to see what this kind of new combination, I guess, would be of youngsters with a little bit of experience plus veterans and goal scorers. I mean, it's been months since we've realistically had a game with an out-and-out striker in the team, apart from like a 19-year-old Theo Bair. So, a lot of people were excited to see Cavallini and the likes of those sort of guys back in the lineup. And then I think some people were almost disappointed that, that's what we've been waiting for. And those 90 minutes, again, I'll say this a number of times, that's just one that the Whitecaps are really hoping doesn't repeat down the road.
And you say, you mentioned in Coach Mark DeSantos' comments, but two, it wasn't just his, it was Jake. It was everyone's comments after the game. That just like, that was just, we weren't good enough. We didn't play good enough. I mean, and I don't really necessarily want to judge the team on the one game, especially since they, we both know that they had to go and do the quarantine time. They had limited training and things like that. And so, it's definitely going to need a couple games to kind of judge it. But I definitely was one of those people that was looking at it and going, okay, we have Cavallini back. We have Ricketts back. We have Andy Rose back, for what he does, as his almost Swiss Army knife role. And, we lost Inbaum, but still I was, excited to see it. And it just came out just disgruntled almost.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And disgruntled, you hit the nail on the head right there. It's just, it was frustrating. And I was Mark DeSantos, they had a media availability a little bit earlier today. And MDS, he was saying that, the biggest weak point was them on the ball, which unfortunately is about 50% of the game. Maybe not on Tuesday. I think they only ended up with about 24% possession. But again, he said that it's a weak spot, which is, not something that fans would like to hear at this point. We're in a shortened season where at this point, every game counts. We're going up against Canadian rivals, Toronto. Bit of a storied history there between the two sides of the last decade or so. And he said that it's a bit of a weak point. And I think the sale of Inbaum kind of, I don't know if it opened any eyes, I guess, but it really just sort of said that, Inbaum was a player that it just didn't quite work his time in Vancouver. It looked like maybe he was the guy, but they're back in 2019, he had flashes here and there towards the end of the season where he saw what he could be. But he just couldn't deliver that on a week in, week out basis. And that's what the Whitecaps desperately need. I mean, anyone with eyes that watched that game against Toronto on Tuesday, they could see that the Whitecaps just had no drive or no urgency going forward. They tried out on the wings. They had Ali Adnan at left back, Christian Gutierrez, which was a bit of a head scratcher at left mid.
Yeah, that was a stretch.
That didn't quite. MDS said that he wanted to try overload to the left side and start their attacks from deeper. That obviously didn't work because they didn't have really any attacks, I guess. So, so I just think that it was, I don't know, the team was overwhelmed. It was a big, and again, like, you have to give credit to Toronto. It's not like, they got a couple of lucky goals. They, they dominated every blade of grass and they deserved every one of those 3 points.
Piatti and Pozuelo were absolutely everywhere in that game. And two, like, and just all of them, Larea, Osorio, you didn't hear Whitecaps players' names. And two, one of the things I wanted to touch on what you said, like just the midfield link up, when one of your two, danger or key passes is from Andy Rose at center back. That's like a 40-yard bomb. Yes, you might have some link up problems in the midfield.
Yeah, and I mean, we saw, Leo Owusu, who I'm ecstatic to see in the side. I think once we see Janio Bikel, once he returns from injury, I'd love to see the way that Owusu and Bikel maybe sit back a little bit. And then if we are able to bring in a Cam or a number 10 or someone to fill in that sort of playmaker role, I'd love to see the two of them sit behind, almost sort of play sweeper in the midfield and just ping balls forward up to Cavallini, out wide to Milinkovic, to Home, Reyna, whoever it is out there. I'm excited to see that happen. And I think a lot of it is, this is the one thing that I will give the Whitecaps a bit of praise for, that it almost seems like a if not when sort of thing. Like when this midfield clicks, then it looks like, that things are going to start to be ticking here. They've got a pretty solid, especially at center back. I think they're relatively well off. Eric Godoy is going to be returning from injury, hopefully in the next week or two. Andy Rose, he had a strong showing to the start of the season. Obviously, he not the best on Tuesday, but still, Ranko really came into his own down in Orlando, and he's been a great addition to the side. Cornelius as well, with a bit of a breakout performance in the last game or two. So, I think at center back we're looking good, but just going forward, and again, with Jake Nowinski, a solid player at right back, Ali Adnan, one of our DPs. He was in Orlando. He was one of our few people going forward, and that was when he'd be at left back. And we tried him at left mid. It looked like it worked. And then obviously we thought maybe we'd see the same thing. Milinkovic did pick up a bit of an injury late on in that tournament down in Florida. So we were maybe expecting to see Ali Adnan at left mid. Obviously Gutierrez was there, and he was overwhelmed and outplayed and outbattled every time the ball was on that side of the field. So it just didn't work.
No, it didn't. And you touched on it a bit about just it's a when, not an if thing, and that's why I was kind of curious with the sale of Inbom. Obviously, I mean, they got a very good deal on it, made a bit of a profit on it, and everyone knew Inbom wanted to go and play in Europe, and that was his plan to move on. But it almost looked like, this was with the attacking pieces that we now had and the squad almost all together. It looked like it was like, oh, okay, I'm really excited to see what he can do now with these attacking pieces moving forward, and now we don't get to see it.
And again, like obviously, yeah, like you said, we all knew that this was almost just a pit stop for him to kind of move his career towards Europe. And, it's not an Alfonso Davies move to a European giant, but, he's got off to Rubin Kazan in Russia, a mid-table side, so he got what he wanted, and maybe he can make some waves out there. And, we wish him the best of luck, but it just wasn't, a good fit, I guess, completely. We were thinking at center mid, there'd be too much defensive responsibilities for him there, and so we wanted to kind of give him a little bit more of a free roaming sort of shot. We gave him that chance in the SKC game down in Orlando. We put him at cam. We had I think it was Theo Bair up in front of him, and we just let him go off and roam. And we gave him the opportunity to be that cam, to be that link up play to these attacking threats that we have. And obviously, like we said, Cavallini, Ricketts, Montero, all of them not making the trip down to Florida. So again, the pandemic, it doesn't help. It's hard to see players play and, test them out, when you can't play for 5 months. And when you do, they're going to be rusty. It's going to take a while, especially if they've got some of the younger players that don't have much experience, or they have some new guys stepping into the lineup. Like Owusu had 6 minutes of MLS play before this tournament. And now, he's an absolute staple in the side because he just emerged down under the lights down in Florida. So, it just wasn't good timing, I guess. And I said this on 90 Plus with Sebastian earlier in the week. I would have loved to have seen Inbom in a couple of years ago, in like 2017, pair him with like Tony Chaney and like maybe Pedro Morales or, Russell Tybert in the midfield. That's when, the defense is covered, the attack is covered. He can roam and have that flair, and he can have that sort of ability to go and push forward and, have less defensive responsibilities. And so I just think it was just bad timing, I guess, for Inbom.
Well, one of the players that, obviously is back, and like you said, he's going to have some rust, and you can see it in Tuesday's game, was Lucas Cavallini. He went a lot longer than I thought that he would in his return, and he had promising moments. I mentioned it kind of earlier that he, would try and force up and press, but no one behind him would follow suit. And that's kind of why I love that word disjointed, because, you kind of didn't see what MDS was doing. You didn't see what the team wanted to do. Mm-hmm. It was almost like every facet of the Whitecaps were doing something different on Tuesday.
Yeah, and I completely agree with you there. With Cavallini, he was isolated up top, and honestly, I wish I could count the amount of times I said isolated in the past 6 months, either, between MLS and just not. But he was all alone up there. And again, this keeps coming back to the point of we have one more DP spot available, and I think every single person is, screaming for the Caps to bring in some playmaker, some nifty, shifty little guy just to play those balls through. Because we've seen what he can do with the national team down in Mexico. He's a proven goal scorer. And for God's sake, we've been begging for a goal scorer since really that one season of Kai Kamara, I guess. And if not before that, I'll go as far as Eric Hasley and Camilo.
Yeah.
So, we have been really just screaming for that. And, we've got him, and we've got this big shiny new toy, and, we can't play with him because we don't have the pieces around him. Obviously, again, the pandemic, it doesn't help when you're trying to integrate a big superstar into a new squad. We didn't really get any favors, but at the same time, we bring in these new guys, and I saw this and I started thinking about it the other day, that if we do bring in this new number 10, he's going to either have to be really special, because a lot of the pieces around him just are almost sort of crumbling, I guess. Like we saw Milinkovic in the home opener against Kansas City. He was phenomenal. He was probably the best player in the park for the Whitecaps, and we just haven't seen a performance like that ever since. And I don't know if that was, if it was just a one-off, or really if that the last few weeks of what we've had of Milinkovic, if that's what we're going to be getting. but it just seems like the attacking piece is almost sort of crumbling in, and they're just kind of saying, oh, it's not my job. You take the ball forward 30 yards. They get, lazy, and Ali, I know he was at left back against Toronto, but Ali Adnan, he was caught slacking quite a few times, coming back on defense, and, that was pointed out and saying, he's wanting to go forward. We have a genuine left back playing out left mid in Gutierrez. That just swap there. Again, I keep coming back to this point, and I'm sure I will later in this interview as well. But yeah, you can just see that, this, if we do bring in that number 10, he's really going to have to be special and to elevate others' game around him, or else it's just going to be another wasted DP opportunity.
And obviously we are in, a transfer window now, but Axel Schuster, as I'm sure you've been in the, in the media availabilities and stuff too, has said, we're like months and months, 6 months away from getting everything done, just with the pandemic that we're in and visa situations and things like that. Obviously it doesn't look like we're going to get any help for the rest of this MLS, phase one kind of return to play, maybe down the lines in the next phase, if, Vancouver obviously has to play in the States, but we'll get to that when it happens. Yeah, exactly. But we have a game Friday. We have a game tomorrow. So obviously they can't call on somebody else. What do you think that the Whitecaps are going to kind of try and come out and do in Friday's match against TFC?
I think number one, you've got to look at the formation, and you have to close that sort of gap between the strikers and the midfielders. I was talking to MDS in the media availability earlier, and he said that they will be using a different formation than Tuesday, which is a bit of a sigh of relief. He said that they're looking like they're going to be using one that they've already used this season. So I was taking a look back at the starting lineups and thinking what it could be. And I was kind of looking at a 3-5-2 or a 5-3-2 with the wingbacks. Yeah. Obviously, like I said earlier, we're relatively solid at center back. Andy Rose, I think, is very solid. He partners well with Ranko, and Derek Cornelius had a strong showing. And, he's hungry for, playing minutes. He put in a good showing, and then the first game that Andy Rose is back, Cornelius is back on the bench. Same with Yasser Kamiri. Eric Godoy is going to come back from injury. That's going to push him further down. And you can see in the Canadian, he's hungry and he wants to get minutes. So he's going to be aggressive and basically playing for his position here. So I wouldn't be surprised if that's the back three. Obviously, and at this point, I'd like to have Inbaum at that one of those center midfield spots with Tybert and Owusu. Obviously, with him, the sale off to Ruben Gazan, he's just not with the side. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see maybe even the first start for Patrick Metcalf. He's made a few substitute appearances. He looks like he's sort of the go-to midfielder to come on during a game for like a center midfield spot at least. And I think that he was talking about he likes to give young Canadians opportunities, which we have seen, so far this season and even last season with MDS. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Patrick Metcalf is the guy. But then we come back to the same sort of point of there's just the striker is going to be isolated up there. So where is that, that bridge going to be? Naturally, it'd be a cam spot, so maybe a 4-4-1-1. Jordi Reyna looks like the best cam out of anyone we have on this side right now. That sort of center forward, number 10. I honestly sort of prefer him out on the wing. I like what he does out there, but he's a player that we can transition to in the inside if we need him, and it really looks like we're going to need really anyone at this point. So, I wouldn't be surprised if we bring Reyna in for a cam, but if not, then we do leave him either outside or even, on the bench, I guess, because the 5-3-2 doesn't give a whole lot of attack down the wings, and that might honestly be a strong suit for the Whitecaps. Just load up and barrel down the middle. If we got Dahomey hasn't been phenomenal, I guess. He wasn't, world class in the Toronto game. I've been a little bit underwhelmed by him this season, apart from, splashes here or there down in Orlando. Milinkovic, again, if he's not 100% healthy, then do we really want to play him, especially if there's a little bit of rust there? So I wouldn't be surprised if we see a bit of more of a narrow formation tomorrow.
And then that 5-3-2 or that 3-5-2 kind of, hybrid thing, that was the one I think that they ran in LA down where they got their first victory against the Galaxy.
And they also ran that against Chicago when they won 2-0. So we've ran it twice. We've won twice. And
that almost allows them. I've noticed in that formation too. I don't know. Let me know. I'm with Ben Righetti, who's a co-host of the 90 Plus podcast here on the Unnamed Sports Show. So Ben, you know, I've almost noticed they've almost been able to get it kind of from the wings into the middle to, you know, the Dahomes and Reyna, you know, from the outside and then kind of funnel things through. And I mean, only was with the addition of Cavallini, you got to expect if they were able to do that, he would provide a little bit more space for both.
He would, yeah. And I mean, you see that, you know, he's obviously Cavallini, he's a big guy and he's, you know, he's very aggressive over, you know, every blade of grass. We saw him tackle his childhood best friend, Azorio, you know, 3 minutes into the game or whatever it was. And just, you know,
that was great to see.
Yeah,
that was great
lost there. So, yeah, you know, he's going to draw a lot of attention from center backs, especially in the middle. And, you know, Reyna, Dahome, Milinkovic, you know, even Adnan, very shifty on the ball, you know, good, strong dribblers. Adnan is one of our go-to guys off set pieces. So, you know, he can whip in a good ball. We know that. Sort of the same with Reyna. So, I mean, you know, Cavallini, El Tanque, he's big, he's strong, he's physical in the air. And, you know, if I'm the Whitecaps, I'm not looking to like have Route One sort of football and just power everything into Cavallini and have everything go through him. I'd like for him to get more involved, but I don't think he can take 100% of the workload. So that's why if it is a little bit narrower rather than outside, you know, we've got, you know, Tiber or Metcalf as it is, or if we do have that cam, we can have Reyna pushing forward to be that sort of drop back pass, and then you've got the wing backs. You know, Nowinski loves to get forward. So does Adnan. Gutierrez did a little bit, not as much, but obviously he's still sort of developing and getting into his role here in Vancouver. So I think the wing backs, they love to get forward. So if we do have a narrower formation, a lot of it that we do go out from the outside, a lot of it's going to be Nowinski, a lot of it's going to be Adnan.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And so we've got a couple more minutes here, but I kind of just want to touch a bit about the UEFA Champions League and Alfonso Davies and Bayern Munich, and Davies playing in his first Champions League finals and the first one for a Canadian-born player. So just kind of get your thoughts on Alfonso Davies in the last little while.
It's been great, honestly, and just someone tweeted out a video in when he scored one of his last goals for Vancouver. You know, obviously, you know, at BC Place on the PA, it's Alfonso Davies, and every, you know, 20,000 people go nuts. It's
shout out Don Andrews.
Yeah, absolutely. Been killing the PA. But yeah, you know, it's just great, and especially for someone like, you know, we'd love to see Canadians go out and thrive. Obviously, Jonathan David just got the big move to Lille. That's another big thing that we're seeing, and you know, we're getting more Canadians involved in the MLS. You know, the CPL, it's growing. You know, they're having the island games right now, so we are on a bit of a wave. You know, the last 2 or 3 years, and it's good to see. And you know, it's just caps off with Alfonso Davies, you know, the face of Canadian soccer up there, like Christine Sinclair. You know, to be out there in a Champions League final from, you know, 2 years ago, he was, you know, being brought on off the bench by Carl Robinson at BC Play. You know, it's just like for Vancouver sports fans, seeing players go on and thrive on the big stage, it's awesome because, you know, we've got the Canucks, but, you know, in the world, the NHL is, you know, the top level. So we're used to seeing high level talent in Vancouver in the NHL. You know, the BC Lions, they've had a number of players go off to the NFL, and it's it is unfortunate that the season's not going to be going underway this year, but you know, regardless, we have been a little bit spoiled, I guess, having high level sports, and you know, again, Seattle's right down the road with the NFL, and the Mariners are there too. So there's, you know, we are spoiled up here in the Pacific Northwest, but to see someone go overseas to Europe and make as big a splash as Davies has, you know, it's not like he's being brought on for a couple of minutes here or there. Like, he's starting every game. He battled his child. I love this storyline of him taking on Lionel Messi in the Champions League semifinals. You know, his childhood hero. I loved that. It was, you know, fantastic to watch, and you know, it makes you know, Whitecaps fans proud, Canadians proud, seeing him delivering on the big stage. And if they can deliver a Champions League trophy to Alfonso, it's going to be incredible.
One of the things that I love, so like even after that, I think it was the Gnarby goal in last game. I think the first one, it was the first one. He after the goal, he points to Davies. First thing he does, he turns around and he points to Davies. I didn't catch the pre-play of it because I just caught the highlights for it. But you know, they're all like they're the way that they look and respect this this young Canadian kid. Like, yeah, it's going to be exciting if he gets to hoist that on Sunday here.
It will be, and it does so much for the story that he's just a good guy. He's a kid. He likes to have fun. He's like doing his dancing on TikTok. And he's just but he's an enjoyable character, and it's not like he's like 100% like focused in. He's got no time for the media or the fans. Like his like he loves to put his name out there and just say, I'm here, I'm having a good. He's always dancing and jiving and everything else. So it's just good to see. And he's like, he's young. He's got, many, many years of success ahead of him as well. And the fact that he's achieved so much in such a short time, especially given his story, it's, again, I keep saying incredible. That's all I can describe that man and his story as. It's great to see.
Yeah, it's been pretty exciting to watch since when he was back. Oh, I don't know if you can see it, but I got a picture of me and him back when he was at the Whitecaps. So it's been exciting to follow it. So Ben, I want to thank you again for joining me today. What do you? I know you obviously you get the 90 Plus podcast come out. You're a contributor for the Last Word on Sports. You're doing a ton of other stuff right now. So just let us know what you're working on, where we can find you.
Yeah, so I mainly go through, I guess, Twitter at Righetti Ben, RIGHETTIBEN. From there, it's mostly Whitecaps content. We've got a lot of the 90 plus stuff comes through my account as well, and also the podcast at 90 Plus Podcasts on Twitter. Me and Sebastian, we've been working hard. We've been grinding on that, and it's good. So I'm a recent graduate of BCIT's broadcast and online journalism. It's a 2-year diploma. Sebastian's going into his second year, so we met through there, and it's been great. And my writing at Last Word on Soccer as well. It's just gives me a bit more kind of structured, I guess, outlet to kind of put my thoughts out there, where it's not just me yelling at a microphone for 45 minutes and Sebastian, talking when he can because I keep interrupting him. It's good. I like it. It's been I was hoping I did get my media credentials for the Whitecaps the day before the season was suspended. I attended the last practice before the season was called off back in March. So it was a little bit of unfortunate timing. It did hurt to kind of, see the news literally the next day after I go to the Whitecaps training facility. I think it was on a Wednesday out at UBC, but it's you know what? I'm excited moving forward. Hopefully next year, if things are a little bit more back to normal, I'll be up at BC Place as well. I'm sure next to you and Sebastian and all the other great members of the Whitecaps media and everyone else. But till then, just here on my laptop, just working away. 90 Plus. Go check it out if you haven't already.
Yeah, and it wasn't too much longer for me. I only got to go to the one game. I got to cover the one home game, but at least at least I made it to one. And when everything gets back to normal, yes, we'll see you up there, and we'll be hopefully covering things normal. So everybody, make sure you check out the 90 Plus podcast, and his work on Last Word on Sports will be down in the description, and we'll also tweet all that stuff out so you can check it out there. So Ben, again, thanks for joining me, and we'll have to bring you back on again here as the Whitecaps continue their foray into the MLS phase, whatever's next.
Awesome. Thank you, Joshua. So talk soon.
Cheers.
Cheers.
All right. So my interview with Ben went a little bit long, and I hope my next guest isn't too upset, because he happens to also be my boss, as well as our head NFL insider for Sports Talk Line. So I don't know if Steven Vanover is ready to go and join me, but if he is, we're going to move right into some NFL talk. And yes, he is. I'll get you caught up with the Milwaukee Bucks Orlando game right while he's connecting with audio. The Bucks are up 31-17 with 9:10 to go in the second quarter. So Steven Vanover, thank you very much for joining me today.
All right. It's a pleasure to be here, man. Always.
Your first time on the Unnamed Sports Show.
This is hopefully not the last.
No, definitely won't be the last. As now we have the NFL season just getting right around the corner. I don't even know. I have so many sports going on right now. And then all of a sudden I'm looking at this and I'm scrolling down and I'm seeing Rams training camp stuff.
Is it so exciting right now? I mean, here we go, just literally months with nothing, cold turkey. Oh, that's not true. There was Korean baseball And actually, that was quite entertaining. I have to admit.
Good.
Yeah.
The blow up dolls were pretty good.
That was an excellent touch. But now all of a sudden here, we're in Nirvana, man. It's like Sports Junkie Christmas right now, isn't it?
It is absolutely fantastic. I have to make sure, I'm trying to get my schedule down for everything, but I definitely have to pick and choose what I'm watching right now because there's so much content on today. Just today in general. Luckily, actually, there's no hockey games on this afternoon for the first time in a while.
Oh, that is rare, But, with all of the NBA and now, as you say, the NFL training camps are in full swing. And, man, there's a lot going on. It's training camp. So normally when training camp gets started, it's a little bit slow on the news and they're focusing on rookies, right? That's not the case this year because, they're abbreviated off-season, lack of mini camps and mini camps and micro mini camps. They didn't have any of those. So these guys are coming in. There's no preseason. So rookies per se are almost universally just getting shoved to the back of the bus. It's like, hey, you guys are going to have to just figure it out. Good luck. If you're a high draft choice, you're probably going to be with us next year. If you're not, you better hope you're doing it on special teams, big guy, okay? Because they're going to be a lot of them cut. Coaches are going with that. But injury news, of course, at the beginning of all this, after all this layoff, that's what's pushing it, right?
Mm-hmm. And what are we seeing from the injury front?
Well, the actual biggest injury front news, because, the dominoes fall when there's an injury, right? Not only is it the injury and the impact of the team, but then what are they going to do with it? Is it somebody underneath or does it lead to a signing? And here, let's get this out of the way. The Dallas Cowboys news, okay? Their defensive tackle, one of their big offseason signings was Gerald McCoy, who'd gone to the Bucs, then the Panthers, and now he was going to sign with the Cowboys with a nice little 2-year deal, a lot of guaranteed money, and he goes out first day of practice and blows out the quad, okay, which is what they were worried about, as it seems, because they had an injury waiver in his contract. But they didn't have to exercise it right away. They had this guy under a really good contract. Man, they turned around. They have already waived him with the injury clause. So he gets his signing bonus, his $3 million signing bonus, but he had $7 million more in guarantees that now they don't have to worry about. They saved $3.25 million against the cap this season. And the rumbling is right now is Mr. Clowney might be going to Dallas Town. And he is the number one free agent available. And, yeah, he would definitely help them. I think he helps them more than McCoy. What do you think about something like that?
Oh, you're looking at Clowney in Dallas on that defense and just trying to solidify that whole team as, compared to, to what they've done. They made the coaching change this year. They're really looking to go for it. It could definitely be interesting and kind of, I guess, push them over the top as it goes for, the NFC East.
It definitely puts them in because the NFC East is a lot more competitive than people think it's going to be. A lot of them are saying, oh, well, it's going to be the Eagles and Dallas and nobody else. And they're ignoring the New York Giants, who have really solidified their offensive line and are really bringing it together and are quietly having a very nice camp. And then the Washington unnamed sports team. Okay, you guys really ought to get together with the show.
I am not affiliating myself with Washington sports organization at all. Thank you very much.
But wait a minute, you're both unnamed, so I'm confused.
Yes, but some of the things that go behind the scenes in my show are not the same that go behind the scenes in the Washington organization.
That is quite true. My bad.
We keep things PG here at the Unnamed Sports Show.
Yes, and a very good feeling it is to be here on the back line. But their defensive line, they had the number one draft pick, number two draft pick in the NFL not that long ago, Chase Young. And this kid, he may be a rookie, but from all the reports, he's not slowing down. He's not having any transition problems. In practice right now, if he does not win a rep against whoever he goes up against, he throws himself down and does 5 push-ups. I mean, just like he was back in Pop Warner or something.
Yeah,
like that,
I was gonna say if any of my old football guys are listening here, if you remember when we dropped passes, we'd have to do 10 push-ups or whatever. I never had to do push-ups, thankfully.
There it is.
And it kind of tells on my physique. So maybe I should have dropped some more passes in Pop Warner in high school and stuff like that.
So this guy's self-punishing himself, and the even better news, he hardly ever has to do it.
Yeah, that's what you love to hear. So, we kind of talked the NFC East a little bit. I want to get to the NFC West. I want to talk my Rams. We got a lot of Seahawks fans up here in the Pacific Northwest. I mean, Ben, my last guest, even mentioned the Seahawks. So, what are we thinking? And then we also we got the San Francisco 49ers.
I heard him talking about the Seahawks, and I was like, yeah, all right.
And Woolsey will wake up from his 6-month slumber soon enough, right? To start talking 49ers.
Be glad to hear from him again. A very knowledgeable dude. Let's actually talk about some 49ers news. They actually signed today strong safety Jonathan Cyprian. Do you remember him from the 2018 NFL draft? Man, he was going to be a first, definitely a second round, possibly a first round. I mean, there was a laundry list of teams that were talking about him. From the Cincinnati Bengals. Let's see, I actually have a list here. These are the teams that bought this guy in and were connected to him in the first round. Bengals, Browns, Jags, unnamed team in Washington, Falcons, Panthers, Cowboys, Dolphins, Cardinals, Titans, 49ers, and Texans. I mean, this guy was going to be the stuff, and now he's just a free agent on the street. They signed him. He's still as a spark candidate. He has really, really good physicality. He just has problems taking proper angles, and he's missing a certain aspect, mental part of the game. But if you can put him in good situations and with clear instructions, he tends to do very well. So he's not under the baggage of like, all right, man, I was drafted in the second round. I've got to be the man. That's no longer the case. So, and this was a kid that they were interested in back in 2018. They picked him up today. I think it's a really great signing for them. I think it's really going to help solidify that back of that defense a little bit and give them some more versatility. Yeah, that's what they need on that defense is more versatility and another big hitter, right?
And you think he, because, he was a little bit younger, obviously having to go through that, getting to the free agency thing. Do you think that'll make it a little bit more, he'll make him more coachable per se?
Never hurts. Never hurts. I mean, I don't know if he had an attitude or not. I've not, don't have any feedback. He got drafted by the Jags, man. He has every excuse in the world for floundering. I mean, that was not a place that was going to, he was going to be that was 2018 was right after they had the really big season, et cetera. And then they just slid downhill.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Greased rails after that. So I really can't fault this kid by himself. Anybody that comes out of that organization, I think is worth a second look.
Yeah, and one of the players from the Jacksonville Jaguars, who I think is going to have a really strong season this year. He's looking good in training camp already for the LA Rams, Jalen Ramsey.
That was a nice segue, dude. Nice segue.
I'm getting better. I'm getting much 16 shows in. I'm starting to actually get the segue and say what I saw. Okay, hockey. Now we talk about football.
All right, and actually, when you look at what he did the moment that he came to the Rams, and that was after not really playing football that much with the Jags that season. He was on again, off again, and then now he was playing. But all of that stuff going on in your head, and this guy now slides to a team that he's totally in sync with. He wants to be there. The coaching staff raves about the kid. Not only is he great on the field, he's doing it in the locker room. This guy is the real deal. Is he expensive? Yeah. Is he worth it? It's like those YouTube videos you see, like, is this worth the price difference from getting this regular thing, off the rack to buy this custom deal? Is it worth the price difference? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, he's worth the price difference. I think. What do you think? Yeah,
no, 100%. And then, too, one of the things, and I don't know if you've seen this specific video, but he he just completely shuts down a Jared Goff pass to Josh Reynolds in preseason, and he's on the ground and he's dancing and he's doing his thing. And then Josh Reynolds comes back, taps him up, picks him up, and they both, give each other love. It's like, okay,
thing, man.
that's what you want to see coming out of training camp. Gonna have to wrap it up really quickly here with you, Van, because I know that Ratto and Lee get pretty mad at me when I go overtime, but
Blame it on me. Blame it on
yeah, no, that's what I should do. Yeah, there we go. Just blame it on my boss. So Steven, thank you for joining me. And again, as the NFL season kicks off here, we're gonna have you on lots more. You are the Sports Talk Line resident NFL expert, and so you also host the Sports Van and a whole laundry list of other things. So let everybody know where they can watch your show and obviously all your articles on sportstalkline.com.
All right. Well, thank you so much. And you'll actually find me starting to churn out the articles again, covering the NFC East, the Dallas Cowboys. You'll find us out weekly as we do the roundtable here on the YouTube channel here on Sports Talk Line. And then also we put out the Sports Fan. Once the season ramps up, that's going to be my individual and unfiltered thoughts, but still good thoughts. Okay, on the sports world, but generally, the NFL specifically. And as always, it's a pleasure, sir. Thank you for having me.
Yes, no, and good. Like I said, I'm excited for the NFL season to get back underway, so I can have Steven join me more so on the show. So Steven, thanks again, and you have yourself a fantastic day. All right, so I want to thank my two guests today, Ben Righetti from 90 Plus Podcasting, contributor on The Last Word of Sports, and my boss is Steven Vanover, who is our NFL insider and NFL expert, and who will be bringing you tons of NFL news coming at you when the season starts. Okay, so you got to make sure to follow him on Twitter at Steven Vanover, and also make sure to follow the YouTube channel. You can hit the notification right at the bottom there for all of our shows. It'll tell you when I'm coming out. It'll tell you when the Sports Fan's coming out. Spinksy's got his college football show, so there is going to be some college football this year, so stay tuned for that. The Canucks have Game 6 and can wrap things up against the St. Louis Blues on Friday. So stay tuned. We might have a special guest and special show for the Unnamed Sports Show 0.5 for a pregame of that, but we don't know because we got a Whitecaps game before that too. So I might be a pretty busy guy. Milwaukee is looking to handle Orlando pretty easily here in the second game. It's 48-30 with 4 minutes and 11 seconds to go in the second quarter. For the Sports Talk Line Network, I have been your host, Joshua Griffith, here on the Unnamed Sports Show. Thank you for tuning in and joining me. And as always, like, subscribe, follow me on Twitter at Joshua Griffith 0. And remember to love sports, all sports.